From Indiana's news leader, Eyewitness News at 6 o'clock starts now.
The Vice President-elect Mike Pence is back in Indiana tonight after a day of talking transition in Washington, D.C.
Here's a live look at the plane that just landed on the west side. What was supposed to be a short meeting between President-elect Donald Trump and President Obama today stretched to about an hour and a half. But as you can see right here tonight, they've left D.C. and the Vice President-elect has come home, and he is being greeted right now by a welcome rally at the Indianapolis International Airport.
And don't adjust your TV set. That is a beautiful sunset behind the plane. Beautiful night for the governor to be returning from Washington, taking his victory lap after being elected as Vice President of the United States. Eyewitness News reporter Jeremy Bryant is with the folks waiting for him to step off the plane. And let's go out to the airport right now. Jeremy?
And John, you mentioned that beautiful sunset. I don't think you could have choreographed this any better. The beautiful sunset there in the background, backlighting the plane as Governor Mike Pence, the Vice President-elect, prepares to get off of that plane. You mentioned the crowd here, several hundred people, along with Governor-elect Eric Holcomb, the current Lieutenant Governor. Senator Dan Coates is here, as well as House Speaker Brian Bosma. The Plainfield Marching Band is here, so certainly a celebratory kind of feeling out here. As the plane taxied in, there were a couple of fire trucks from the Indianapolis International Airport that were spraying water over the plane as it came in. And again, we're just waiting for Governor Pence to get off that plane. Obviously, he's going to be making some remarks as he comes to speak to this crowd. And this is a crowd of Trump-Pence supporters, but I would say first and foremost they are supporters of Governor Mike Pence. Let's listen to some of them, or perhaps we'll just wait and watch for the Vice President-elect to get off the plane.
Well, I think this is a moment of history that they may never get to experience again. We've never had a vice president, I think, that I know of come from Indiana. And
it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. And so I just thought it would be an awesome experience of education for our girls to remember as they're growing up.
We believe in supporting our country and just being involved.
We needed some changes.
Yes, and wanted to support.
We're really excited.
Yes, very excited that Trump and Pence got elected, and we wanted to show our support and
we stayed up all
for our
night,
country.
and it was a very, very close call. We stayed up all night.
So a lot of very excited fans of Governor Mike Pence, the Vice President-elect, here to greet him for the first time back in Indiana as the Vice President-elect of the United States of America. Senator Dan Coates was up here speaking a little while ago. He said, boy, you couldn't have imagined a few days ago that this would be the case, that we would be celebrating this, but in fact all of these supporters are here celebrating. I should say it is getting very crisp out here, cold, and some of these people have been here for a couple of hours. So they are dedicated and they are ready to see Mike Pence and ready to hear from him. John Emery.
All right, thank you. We're going to continue to watch the plane there as it sits on the tarmac at the Indianapolis International Airport. And one thing that strikes me is that Mike Pence's days of walking through the airport, like the rest of us, are pretty much behind him, at least for the time being. He's getting a set of stairs rolled up to the plane right now, and he's preparing to make a grand entrance and step foot on Indiana soil for the first time as Vice President-elect. We're watching staffers. A few staffers have gotten off the plane, and there are some of the flight crew waiting there. And we expect the Vice President-elect to step out at any moment.
But let's talk a little bit about his day today. Before Mike Pence left Washington, D.C. today, he and Mr. Trump met with the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan.
Yeah, and for Donald Trump, it was sort of a get-to-know-you session. Donald Trump doesn't really know his way around the Capitol, didn't really know his way around Washington. Mike Pence certainly does, and that is leading to talk that Mike Pence could be one of the most important vice presidents in history, arguably the most important vice president, as he is going to be the liaison between the administration and the folks on Capitol Hill, where he has many, many friends after his years of representing Indiana's 6th District in Congress.
That's right. And when he talked about that meeting today, he said it was a fantastic, productive meeting about getting to work, rolling up our sleeves and going to work for the American people. He said Donald Trump had one of the most impressive victories we've ever seen, and Pence said we're going to turn that victory into progress for the American people. We are now talking about how we're going to hit the ground running to make sure that we can get this country turned around and make America great again. So there's some pictures of that meeting today, and those were the words that Mike Pence had to say about that meeting.
You know, interestingly, earlier at that meeting today, Donald Trump and Barack Obama sitting down in the Oval Office, the two of them had never met, and they had been in the same building, the same room at times, but they never had the chance to actually meet in person to shake hands. Trump coming away from that meeting saying that he thinks that Barack Obama is an impressive guy, and Obama also having nice words for Donald Trump, saying that he intends to do everything he can to make it as smooth a transition as possible when the Trump team takes over early next year.
And at the time that was happening, First Lady Michelle Obama was also meeting with Donald Trump's wife, Melania. As we look live at this plane right now, we're joined by our political reporter, Kevin Rader, who has spent time on that very plane going across the country with Mike Pence, our governor, as he was meeting with American voters.
And as I look at that, Ann and John, as I look at that plane, when you first go in and you go to the right, there's a small area there where the Vice President-elect and family and aides will sit. After that, after about the first 5 or 6 rows, there's a separation. There's probably about 10, 12 rows of nothing but Secret Service. Yeah. And then after that, when you get to the back of the plane, then you're getting to the embeds, people who have just traveled with the Vice President the whole time. And these are people who work for the networks and also work for the major newspapers, Washington Post, Boston Globe, whatever you might find, New York Times. But a lot of the embeds are young people, about 25 years old. Right. And they're just hoping their video gets on networks.
Who can afford to be in beds and spend their life literally on the road. Tough to do when you have a family. I have to ask you, is this the plane, the same very plane that skidded off the runway at
No.
in New York? It's not.
It's not. So theoretically, there's the
Tuesday night, didn't we?
governor. The plane that actually went
Let's hear what
out the door.
Trump
Okay.
has to
United
say.
States Senate because we elected Todd Young. Here in Indiana, we elected a Republican superintendent of public instruction and a Republican attorney general, and we protected our supermajorities in the state house and senate. And if I do say so myself, thank you, we maintain the governor's office as well. You know what other history we made? I think you do. America, starting right here in Indiana, just after 6 p.m., elected our very own Governor Mike Pence as the next Vice President of the United States of America. Americans chose proven and responsible leadership, the type of leadership that creates jobs and lowers taxes and works every day to improve the lives by focusing on the future. Just imagine how much we can do with a real partner in the White House. Just imagine what we can do when D.C. isn't breathing down our necks and stifling our innovation and creation and creativity with their overburdensome regulations. But there's one thing that every single person here doesn't have to imagine, and that is what kind of Vice President Mike Pence will be. Because we've known Mike Pence for over 20 years, just like so many people now are getting to know around America. And our impression of Mike Pence has never changed. He's a man of integrity. He's a man with a servant's heart. And he's never forgotten that cornfield in the backyard where he came from and where he's been leading others to. And like I said about Indiana on Tuesday night, when it comes to a Trump-Pence administration, you ain't seen nothing yet. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a great big Hoosier welcome to our First Lady and Vice President-elect of the United States of America, Mike Pence.
And there you see the Pence family walking down the steps there. They're going to be speaking to the crowd that's developed out there. Mike Pence, the 6th vice president to come from Indiana, the first in Stan Quayle, left office in 1993. And he's got to be proud. And there it is, stepping on Hoosier soil for the first time, Kevin, since he has been elected vice president.
What I think of as I see that is I was out there when Dan Quayle made his first return, so I'm not out there this time. And we were making a point that Janet, it's nice to see the first.
Janet Holcomb.
Right.
She was injured earlier this month, actually around Halloween, bit by a dog, got in the middle of a dog scuffle and had to go to the emergency room and get stitches. But we could see that Janet Holcomb now is recovering and was there with Governor-elect Eric Holcomb at the podium tonight, as we can see the Pence family now.
The band playing Back Home Again in Indiana, the Plainfield High School band out there tonight. And
that's his mother. There's Mike Pence's mother.
His daughter and his wife to his left. So Mike Pence making that victory walk, taking a victory lap here in Indiana tonight.
What a walk that must be. You know, you're coming back to the state of Indiana, but literally you're leaving it and you're walking into history. You and I have said that before, John, but what a walk that this must be.
He's getting close to the podium now. It'll be interesting to hear what he has to say. Obviously, a lot of thank yous. What else do you expect him to say, Kevin?
Well, I expect him to speak from his heart a little bit about what Indiana has meant to him and the fact that Indiana made this possible. I would be surprised if we didn't hear something along that line. I think he feels like he owes a lot to this state, and let's be truthful, he does.
Indeed he does. Looks like he's going to shake hands with a few people before he steps up to the podium.
Watching Indiana History Live right here on Channel 13 at 6 o'clock as we're bringing you live coverage from the Indianapolis International Airport as Mike Pence arrives back home and now prepares to say some remarks at the podium there.
He's the one who chose Eric Holcomb to be his new lieutenant governor a few months ago and was a strong supporter of Eric Holcomb as Eric Holcomb ran for governor.
And when I asked him that night of election night, he was overjoyed that Eric Holcomb had won and expressed that, you know. So this is a big deal right here. This is coattails, John. This is what it's all about. If you leave office, you want your guy to replace you.
All right, let's listen to what Mike Pence has to say.
Hello, Indiana. It is wonderful to be back home again. Thank you all for coming out. And it's a special joy to be introduced tonight by the governor-elect of the state of Indiana, Eric Holcomb, and his wonderful wife, Janet. We're also so moved to have so many neighbors and friends to give us this warm welcome home tonight. Especially grateful to be joined by one of the great public servants in my lifetime in the state of Indiana. I know he is here. Senator Dan Coates and his wife Marcia are with us. Would you join us in thanking them for a lifetime of service to the state of Indiana? And also grateful to be joined with newly re-elected majorities in the Indiana General Assembly by Speaker Brian Bosma and his wonderful wife Cheryl. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for honoring us tonight. And to all who are gathered here today, we are deeply humbled and moved by this warm Hoosier homecoming. You know, in my life, I've been blessed in so many ways. Blessed to represent my hometown in our nation's capital. Blessed to have had the opportunity to serve as governor of the greatest state in the greatest nation on earth. But I am deeply humbled to stand among my neighbors and friends with my family at my side, to know that it will be my great honor to take that lifetime of experience to serve as the Vice President of the United States of America, and I want to thank you all. I'm just here to say thanks and here to give lots of hugs. First and foremost, I want to thank the love of my life, a girl I met at the very same church where we voted on Tuesday, who has been at my side for 31 years, been at my side over the course of this campaign over the last 4 months, and she is going to be an extraordinary second lady of the United States of America, my wife, Karen Pence. And we're so grateful to our children, our son, Michael Joseph, who couldn't be here today, serving in the Marine Corps, our wonderful daughter, Audrey, who's overseas. But I want to give a special thanks to our first daughter, our middle child, who literally traveled across the entire country with her mom and dad. I said she was babysitting her parents while they ran for Vice President of the United States. This is an amazing young lady, our daughter Charlotte, and we couldn't be more proud and more grateful. And I want to thank my parents. My dad, who I have a feeling is looking down from glory and very surprised. and I want to thank my mom, whose energy, whose love of this country as the daughter of immigrants, whose passion for service and passion for our family continues to animate all of my life. Mom, thank you. Thank you so much. And back here, the welcoming committee at the bottom of the stairs, my big disastrous family, the whole Pence family, we just love you and thank you so much for being there and carrying us with your love and your prayers. And I want to thank my father-in-law, Bernie Barcio, who we consider him part of the Pence family, whether he wants to that label or not. Lastly, I want to thank all the people whose support, whose kindness, whose example has raised us up. Make no mistake about it. The example of the people of Indiana, the example of the state of Indiana in leadership that you have supported, carried us to this position, and I promise you, every day we will work our hearts out to make Indiana proud. I just have a few things to ask of each of you. Number one, I ask you to support our President-elect Donald Trump as he prepares to assume the duties of the highest office in the land. Support our newly re-elected majorities in the House and the Senate, and support Senator Todd Young as he partners with us to make America great again. I also ask you to support the strong leadership that has taken Indiana to record employment, to be the fiscal envy of the country, to be a nationally recognized leader in education, innovation, infrastructure, and even health care. By supporting our Governor-elect Eric Holcomb and his family, supporting Speaker Bosma in the General Assembly, supporting Senator Long, and all the great statewide leaders who will be moving our state forward. Our responsibilities will broaden, but we will be looking on fondly at the progress of Indiana as Indiana will continue to set the pace for the country. And lastly, I would ask each one of you to pray for us. Pray for us that we might serve with integrity of heart, with the grace, and with the common sense that is synonymous with the name Hoosier. And I also ask you to pray for our country. Pray that we might find our way forward as a nation, that we might renew the American dream, that we might create new opportunities to improve the lives of the people of this nation, and in that way to heal the divisions in our country and move forward to a more prosperous future, and move forward with firm reliance on Providence as one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So let me say on behalf of my family, my kids, Mom, our whole extended family, I just want to say thank you. Everything I am, everything I will ever be, I owe to God, my parents, my family, and the good people of the great state of Indiana. And so let me just say to each one of you, I hope you will always know that wherever my duties take me as Vice President of the United States of America, every morning that I wake up, my heart will always be where the moonlight is fair along the Wabash. And from the fields there come the breath of new-mown hay, where I know the candlelights will always be gleaming through the sycamores on the banks of the Wabash far away. Thank you, Indiana. God bless you. We're going to work our hearts out to make you proud.
Indiana Governor Mike Pence wrapping up his remarks on the tarmac at the Indianapolis International Airport. We went from an orange sky to a dark sky over the time that he talked, and he wrapped it up by reciting the words to Back Home Again in Indiana, emotionally as he did it. And earlier, Kevin, in his talk, we heard a bit of his stump speech. He talked about making America great again and talked about where he wants to move the country with Donald Trump.
I am so moved by how emotional he was there. You don't see that very often.
So was I. I mean, he has a little bit of emotion to him when he speaks, even on the stump. But this was more. This was something more. He talked a lot about his Irish heritage, his father, on the stump when you heard him in Pennsylvania and in Ohio. He's very proud of that. And so I've heard him talk about his father before, coming here with very little money in his pocket and making this. But this is interesting to watch. But yeah, it was part stump, John, but it was part heart too. You heard that.
Yeah. He talked about being humbled, being blessed, and also being very grateful and thankful to the nation and to the people from Indiana.
Yeah, you know, he did talk about Indiana a lot. Of course, Indiana had a success story to tell. And so there was reason on the stump to talk about Indiana. There was a real benefit to it. But I think this was a heartfelt, even I felt it here. If you felt it through the TV and we're not there and you're feeling it, I can't imagine what it might have been like. In fact, I thought for a while you might even see him really get choked up.
Well, imagine what that must feel like. He's giving this speech, he's saying these words, and the pressure's off. He's won the prize. And now